Hey everybody, welcome back. Brand new Take Aim. As always, I'm your host Brandon Hammonds. Excited to get a new show out. Sorry it's been a minute. I've just had a lot of things going on in my personal life, so I had to take a little break and get some things situated around home and stuff like that and work. So excited to get a new show out, and with me this week is Blake Garrett, my good buddy, back with me from the Unfiltered Outdoor app. And Blake just successfully killed a couple birds, turkeys that is, out in Nebraska and Kansas, and we just cover the tips and techniques Blake used to reap these birds. And it's a great podcast with a bunch of information if you're looking to get into turkey hunting, the reaping style of that. And Blake had an awesome start of the season, to say the least, so I hope you guys enjoy the show. All right, guys, we are live. Welcome to brand new Take Aim podcast. And as always, excited to get a new show out, and excited as always to talk with Blake. Blake was the first guy maybe I've seen this year, the first guy I think on social media that I actually saw with a turkey. So it's turkey talk time with Blake, but excited to have Blake back on and talk about the start of turkey season. And I'm not joking about that, Blake. I really think you were the first guy to see kill a turkey this year.
We got pretty lucky. We got in. I think it was like probably 15 minutes into legal shooting lights on the opening day of Nebraska, the 25th of March, that we killed one. So it worked out pretty quickly for us. But
yeah, that's super quick, and I mean, and early too for like a Midwest state. I mean, that's almost like a Southern turkey time season. March 25th. Yeah, that's an early season.
Yeah, that's when they open out there in Nebraska, and it's really, really tough hunting out there that time of the year. And the birds aren't doing anything breeding wise, and they're in giant groups, which is why I love to go out there. You're hunting groups, like you're hunting a flock on a roost tree of 300 plus birds. And me growing up in Missouri, I've never been able to see that. I mean, if we get 4 gobblers together, that's a giant group for us. But 350 just blows your mind, and we always like going out there. It's a little tougher. I think we've kind of figured out that we don't even set up and call. We don't set in the blind. We don't even put out decoys. Like, we just take the reaper and let them play around underneath the roost for the first couple minutes of light, and then as they start kind of working up into the crop fields, we just try to get in between them and usually try to lure one of the gobblers out of the group to come in.
So, I mean, I'm kind of curious, Blake, because in Michigan, the reaper, it's actually illegal, and that's
right.
crazy.
It
so, explain to me, what's the scenario you do in the mornings? I assume, off the roost. Are you guys kind of hiding? Are you in a location you just think you can be mobile to?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much the whole trick behind reaping turkeys is getting into whatever their bubble is, their comfort zone, to where they feel like you're, kind of coming down on their territory. And really every turkey's different. For the most part, I mean, we try to get within, obviously, like out in Nebraska, you can see a lot more. So, and there's a lot better terrain with elevation. So we'll get high on a hill somewhere and just kind of watch them. Because they always roost down in the creek bottoms, and we let them fly down, and they really don't do anything for the first 30 to 45 minutes when they're in the big groups. They just kind of strut around and gobble, and none of the birds really leave the bottom. They all just kind of hang out. And then eventually those hens and even some of the gobblers may lead the pack, but eventually they're going to head up and out of there to go to crop fields. So we really just try to set ourselves up to get to where we need to get in the dark. And then once we're there, we know, okay, we can move, whether it be over the back of the hill or we have a ditch by us, or, just kind of set ourselves up to where we can put a stalk on getting in front of them. It's almost like spot and stalk deer hunting, to the fact of, you're just trying to get in front of them the best way you can. The benefit of the reaper is that you can actually use the reaper if the terrain isn't there for you to stay completely hidden. You can kind of use the reaper to get around them and not have them have any idea what's going on until you can really set it up.
So,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. So offhand, I think if I follow you right, you're not necessarily like I would normally shotgun or bow in a blind. You're not like a normal turkey hunter, I would say, setting up very close to the roost. You don't have to,
Right.
right? Is what?
No, yeah, not out there especially. Like in Missouri, it's a little different story because in Missouri, our birds like really, it's hard to get eyes on them, and they don't like to gobble a lot after they hit the ground. So in Missouri, we try to we try to get as close as we can get to keep eyes on them, and then kind of do the same move. But 9 times out of 10 in Missouri, we're going to wait till they get out into the fields or out into the open, to where we can see them and see the play. I mean, for us, it's a little different situation than maybe a regular hunter that's not filming. I mean, for us, I have to set up a place for the camera guy to set up and see the whole thing happen and get it all on video, as well as for the reap to happen. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit different scenario. It has to almost kind of be the perfect situation. But we try to do what we can do as homework and on our side to try to set that up if we can. But yeah, overall, it's just about getting eyes on them. Once you get eyes on them, you just make the move and push the issue and try to be as aggressive as you can appear. And typically, they won't make you crawl all the way to them, but I mean, 9 times out of 10, I'll say when you break 100 yards, you can kind of tell. I mean, you get in there on a gobbler, and his demeanor will change, and he'll kind of come around and try to get in between you and his hens, and then eventually there'll just be a tipping point that you reach, or something you may do with the decoy, move the fan, or whatever the case may be, to where it's like a light switch, he turns, and it's full bore from then on. You know, he's coming straight to you.
So to explain a little bit, Blake, about what kind of setup it is with the Reaper. I know you were bow hunting, so how do you set that up with your gear, and basically explain it to the point where if somebody doesn't know what reaping is?
Yeah, so there's a decoy that Mojo Outdoor make, and there's a couple different ones, I guess I should say. But Mojo, the one I choose is Mojo Outdoors. They make a what they call a scoot and shoot, and it's essentially, well, you know, like a 3/4 gobbler. It's his front breast and then his head, and then they have a fake fan that comes with it, and it's got 2 fake wings on the side that are pretty small, about 5 inches or so. We found out that with archery hunting them, and because we're either archery hunting them or we have a camera guy with us behind it, so we're hiding 2 guys behind it. We essentially found out that we needed to make it a little bit bigger to hide stuff, so we use an Eastern fan. No matter where we're hunting, it's a little bit bigger fan. I took real wings off of a gobbler and put them on the sides and attached them to where I had a little bit bigger profile to hide behind. And then I added like some black cloth essentially on the bottom of it to give me kind of a curtain there to where nothing could be seen, light could be seen underneath the turkey. And really what it is you're just trying to pretty much just be a turkey coming at them, a gobbler strutting, coming into their zone to take their hens. And it really will blow your mind. Like, if you've never seen it, go to YouTube and just type in reaping turkeys. There's a million videos about it. But we have one up on the Unfiltered app from kind of last year of some, we were learning really last year with it. I mean, we played with it a little bit, but really learning the I guess, ins and outs of filming and bow hunting behind them, shotgun hunting behind them, kind of the differences. And we really learned, like, you wear black. We don't ever wear full camo. We always want a black face mask, a black hat, black sleeves. We found out that any movement that goes on behind that fan, if it's black, the turkeys seem to kind of insignify it or whatever with an actual turkey. If you think about a turkey who's out strutting, he's puffing up, he's getting smaller, he's getting bigger. So I think anytime that they see kind of a different movement and it's black, they just signify that it's part of the turkey's body. We tried it with camo initially, and man, just kept getting picked off when we tried to draw the bow or try to move. So we really found out, by adding wearing black into it, it really upped our odds a lot. But yeah, we're essentially just crawling behind this decoy across the wide open pasture, across whatever we can get to get within a zone of a turkey that he gets intimidated and comes over to be territorial. And dude, they'll run all the way up to it. I mean, we've shot on that Reaper. We've had it over a year now, just about a year and a week actually. We've killed 18 with it, within
Holy
10
crap.
yards. So it's outrageous. And I mean, I understand. We always joke that it should be illegal. It's unfortunate that it is illegal there. I think it's not because it's so potent. It's just because they're afraid that people are going to get hurt doing it. But it's crazy how effective it can be at the right time of the year. I mean, really, once they start breeding, it changes the whole game for reaping and what you can get done with it.
Yeah, that is so insane. I know that you've told me you've been within feet of several turkeys, which is just crazy.
Yeah, it's the bird I killed in Nebraska. He was initially, the first bird was I think he was 4 yards. There's 6 steps, 4 yards, and there were 3 gobblers, and they came 250 yards. I got to a point to where I was either going to have to crawl on my hands and knees to get to them, which is really tough with a bow and everything, and to try to keep eyes on them, because you got to remember, at some point these turkeys are going to come, and I can't take my eyes off of them to move. So if I'm down on my knees crawling with my bow, I can't have an arrow knocked, and they may catch me. So I essentially just decided to stop, and I started kind of flapping the wings on the decoy and shaking it. And for whatever reason, they gobbled once and ran 250 yards and came into 4 yards, and we shot one. So it was super cool, and that's the way it's supposed to work out. It doesn't always, but that's definitely the way it's supposed to work out.
Yeah, that's crazy. So, bow setup wise, Blake, tell everybody what you're running, and do you use one of the big kind of turkey broadheads?
No, I don't. I'm actually shooting trocars, Muzzy trocars, which is a cut-on contact, just small cut diameter. Same thing we shoot deer with. I like the broadheads. A cut-on contact for us is something that we've found with turkeys. We have more of an issue, honestly, with getting penetration than anything. I mean, it's hard to get a pass-through on a turkey, and a lot of times if you get a full pass-through on a turkey, it's not a vital shot. It's not through the vitals. So we found out, we went with a little bit better penetration. We found, especially in the last week, when on Tuesday, I had a turkey that I actually hit a little bit high and actually got a pass through, and he ran 40 yards, stood there with 2 other gobblers for probably, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, and then they all slowly walked off. And as he was walking off, I was watching him with binoculars. He got about 100 yards away, and he just tipped over dead. He had bled out, but we went to get the arrows, and we found out there was a blood trail literally to follow, and we followed the blood trail all the way up to him. But yeah, I mean, I think ultimately everyone shoots they talk about turkeys and they want to shoot a big expandable, and I did it for years and had some success, but I had some failures out of them too, and really have found out that with shooting these cut-on contacts that we're getting a lot better penetrations through the bird and complete pass-throughs to where even if we have to blood trail a bird in, we can do it. We don't want to do that, but if we have to, it's there,
Yeah, I mean, it's hunting, and it's kind of it's basic fundamentals. If you're getting a pass-through, odds are you're killing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I would
I
assume
mean,
in a turkey it's the same math equation.
Yeah, for the most part. The big thing with a turkey you got to be careful of is that breast is so big on them that, you can shoot through the breast and the turkey will absolutely be fine, and you'll get a clean pass through and it'll look great. If you hit them low, it seems like, turkeys can
they do survive those low shots.
Absolutely, yeah. With a turkey, you're always best to go high. I mean, if you hit him high, you're going to kill him. If you hit him low, not going to. I mean, that's where problems are going to come from,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you're an avid turkey hunter, you've heard the old saying, if you hit them low, you watch them go. If you hit them high, you watch them die. And it's pretty
absolutely
true. Yeah.
Absolutely is, yeah.
It really is.
Yeah, and it's tough, with reaping, that's where it gets really, really complicated with a bow, because you're shooting something, though they may be, 4 yards or within 10, they're still moving. It's not like shooting, we all used to blind hunt, and we still do, but you shoot them out of a blind, they're 10, 15, 20 yards, and they're strutting, and they're standing there, and, it's all easy. You're sitting down, you're comfortable. In reaping, you're leaning out, or you're always on your knees, you're leaning out or leaning over the fan, or, it's just not a real comfortable situation, plus your target is moving, so it can be pretty tough, but if you can keep your patience in it, the bird really won't just turn inside out if he sees you come over the fan or come around the fan. A lot of times, and some mistakes I made early in doing it was I would draw my bow, and I'd come up over the fan, and he would get nervous, but he wouldn't run, but I'd rush the shot anyway. And it's a matter of just kind of keeping your cool and drawing your bow and making sure you take your time and picking a spot. And the turkey will stand there. He may walk in, he may kind of turn around like he's getting ready to leave, but he won't just run because he doesn't really understand how there's something behind that gobbler that he was just going to come fight,
Right. He hasn't figured that part out yet.
Right,
yeah.
right.
But it seems like with what you said about wearing the black, it seems like that probably has maybe helped with the patience game a little bit.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It probably stops them double, it makes them do a double, triple check look, on what the hell's going on back there.
Right, absolutely.
So to go back real quick about, those big flocks in the river bottoms like that in Nebraska, Blake, you basically said they come down in the river bottoms, and then it's a half an hour or 45 minutes, and they disperse. When they disperse, that's a huge, huge group. How many of those are dispersing enough that there's a little less eyes and ears on you?
Yeah, usually they'll come out in a line, and they'll, they won't all walk obviously together. It's kind of a parade, honestly. You'll get, 15, 20 hens will be together, and they'll kind of go through, and then, just kind of funnel through periodically. And you just really, even the hens and stuff, though, they don't alert, at least. They may see the reaper and not like it. We've had them see the reaper and come right to it. A lot of times they just don't pay attention to it. They literally treat it like a gobbler, and they look at it, and they just move on and keep doing what they're doing because they just think it's another gobbler that's out there strutting with them. And that's the majority of the time that's what we run into, where when we run into a lot of eyes, the only real time that you'll have a problem, we had this in Kansas Tuesday. We went on a flock of probably 20 birds, and there was 8 gobblers in the group, and man, they all showed up, right when we popped the reaper on them. They were probably 100 yards away, and the first gobbler sees it and just starts walking towards it slowly. And that kind of led the pack to it, and then they all flew. There's a little bit of almost like a creek down in the bottom, and they all flew the creek. Like 20 hens flew the creek. It's like a whole group of all the hens flew. And all the gobblers, some of the gobblers flew with them, and then some of them came across the water and actually walked across it. But here we are sitting, we're in a deadfall to try to get some cover. And Josh, my camera guy, was set up with just a regular fan. He just had that to break up his outline, and it was stuck in the dead tree. And they're all coming at us. But the problem was they kind of had spread out. So we have 3 gobblers that are coming on the right side of the decoy. We have 2 gobblers that are coming on the left side of the decoy. And eventually, you're really only working with that decoy is effective when they're facing it. When they get broadside to it, they're obviously going to see 2 dudes hiding behind it, So we're trying
what do
to
you do in that situation?
Yeah. Well, we're just rushing it, and he's trying to, keep an eye on what bird and trying to figure out what bird I'm going to shoot. And I'm just trying to watch and see which one's going to come first, right? That's the one I want to shoot, whoever's going to come closer first. And we actually, one of the birds worked our left side and came all the way down within 10 yards of us, but he stayed kind of in a tree line that was there. And another bird broke off and strutted out to like 20 yards and on our left side. So I was like, well, that's the one, we're going to take. We're going to shoot the left one. Well, I end up leaning out and missing the bird. I shoot low, and the bird kind of takes a couple steps and walks off. And he's like, okay, there's, shoot the one on your right. So I looked to my right, and that one of the other birds coming that direction was just standing there with his head up, didn't really know what was going on like we talked about. So I re-knock an arrow and then draw and come over the bow and shoot that bird at 30 yards. So it's just kind of chaos. That's where you can kind of get in trouble with it. You really, for us, ideally, we'd love to go on, like you said, I'd love to go on one bird. If I have one gobbler out in the field by himself, which we usually run into late in the year, that's the bird you want to go after because he's the only one you got to worry about keeping the angle of the decoy on. And he's really the only eyes out there. You won't really be surprised by him. You can keep an eye on him. Because vision's limited when you're behind the reaper. You have obviously a turkey decoy in front of you and a giant fan that you're trying to look for. You don't want to stick your head out over the fan or around the fan if you don't have to, just because it's that extra movement that you just don't want to bring into the game. So we're essentially trying to look through little holes in the fan, and anywhere we can kind of peek to just keep eyes on it as we start moving through the field. So, yeah, I mean, every situation is different, but obviously the less eyes out there, the better for sure.
Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, going along with that, that sounds like a really good tip. Like that, I mean, you mentioned patience earlier. So basically, when you're looking through that Reaper, you're basically kind of, correct me if I'm wrong, but you're like stuck to looking just basically forward, like through that fan, right? So
Yeah, a lot of times
you got to
because that's where
remember
you want
not
the
to,
turkey to be.
like you just mentioned, peek out from either side to keep, looking.
Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, we run a fan that's kind of ratty looking. I mean, it's not like a perfect fan. You know how turkey fans get when they just kind
Yeah,
of get
like
where the feathers stick
beat up.
together and they get kind of
Yeah.
holes in them. Yeah. Like we use a fan like that has a lot of holes at the top of the fan. And that way I can look through the fan and see the bird the majority of the time, because that's the whole trick behind it is recognizing when he's going to flip that light switch and come, because if you're not ready, he's going to catch you off guard because they cover some ground quick, when they're on a run and coming.
Yeah, when their mind's made, man, they can cover ground. Those birds move at the speed of light,
Oh
it
yeah.
seems like when they're hit. I mean, they run something fast. It's crazy.
Oh yeah, it's unreal. When they put their mind to something, it's on. So.
So you know what I think's interesting, too, is we've talked roughly over 20 minutes already about this reaping, and you've not mentioned calling once. So,
Yeah.
I mean, is that part of the game plan that literally you can just, sort of take their temperature with the Reaper and almost not even call?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we pack, so I take a box call with me, especially out west. We use a box call a lot out there. Those birds just seem to respond to it. In Missouri, I'll use a mouth call just so it's less I have to carry. I will take a call with me when I go. A lot of guys have talked about gobbling at them. I have a gobble shaker, and I've never had a lot of success with it. But I have had, on Tuesday, we had two different birds that we used the box call on that we went on. So essentially, my Nebraska bird, we get there, get on him. He's got like 9 hens. He's strutting out in the wide open. When we first pop the Reaper on him, one of the hens gets nervous. And I don't know if she saw something I was doing when I was trying to crawl to him. I don't know. She just got nervous, and she started kind of walking off. And he dropped strut. And kind of, you could just tell he was just like, oh, I don't know what's going on. So I got the box call, and I just yelped one set of yelps. And that hen literally turned around and came right back to the group. She called back to me. And he came all the way around the group and then came all the way in. So, I mean, straight in. We shot him within 20 yards.
Wow. That's
so it
crazy.
can be, it can kind of change the dynamic of it to where, they see it, but if they're weary at all, you put a call to it, they'll settle back in and come back to it. So I always take a call with me. But if I like you said, you kind of take his temperature. If there's no need to call to him, if he sees it, drops strut and comes, then it's on.
Yeah.
If he,
exactly.
if he hangs up, gets nervous, whatever you got to do, it just gives you another tool to kind of play him and get him kind of back in the firing up.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing with reaping you have to remember is it's about building up the aggression in him to where he makes a mistake. So if you just take it out there and you let him see it at 250 yards and you never move the decoy, you just pop it up there, you're not really invading his space. And some birds may run that far, but if he's not that aggressive, or if he doesn't want to come fight, he's just going to stand there and strut because you're not really pushing the issue. But if he's still, out there at 250, we're going to start going at him, and I'm going to start pushing the issue with him, and I'm going to see how far he's going to let me come before he decides, hey, I'm going to either turn around and run away and leave all my hens, or I'm going to stand here and fight. And that's 9 times out of 10, if he stands there, if he struts there when he sees the Reaper clean, he's going to come in at some point. You just got to find out how close you got to get to him before he breaks and comes to fight it.
Yeah. You know what I think's cool too, and I wanted to ask is, I know you said March 25th was Nebraska, and it was so early that they weren't into calling yet. From then to Kansas, how much have you seen the season change already? Which is roughly,
oh my gosh,
2 weeks?
Yeah, night and day.
Yeah,
unbelievable. I mean, even Monday. So we hunted Kansas Monday, which was the opener, the 8th, and I went on a Reaper off of a group of probably 20 gobblers that were on a roost with a bunch of hens. And in the morning, we literally set up about 100 yards from the roost, started going on the gobblers as soon as they all got down, and none of them came to it. Everything just walked away with their hens. Because it's that time I talk about, like that 30 to 45 minutes that they get out of the tree, that they just really don't care. They're used to being around other turkeys at that time of the day. They're really not being territorial much. And I couldn't get anything to go on, so they left, and we sat down there and in the bottom and called in two different birds, two different satellite birds, in the morning, mid-morning, but none of them, they never gobbled. They just came in silent. And we were like, well, whatever, so it didn't work out. We had the rest of the day, couldn't get anything killed. And Tuesday, it was like the light switch changed. Cody Pieper, called me and said, hey, he called me Tuesday morning. He said, man, I just watched a gobbler breed a hen. And we know that whenever the breeding starts, that's when the real territorial stuff starts. They have something in the game to fight for. And it was like a light switch. We switch farms and get over on the farm, and there's 3 gobblers standing in the bottom. I get within 100 yards of them, and I literally wasn't ready for them. It was really windy out there, and I had to put my reaper up against the barbed wire fence to kind of hold it to where it wouldn't blow over. And I was getting it stuck up there, and as soon as I stuck it up there, I was going to have Josh move around behind me so he could get the angle on the birds for the reap. And I pick up my phone to text him to say, hey, go around behind me to get this angle. And literally the birds, I guess, saw the reaper when I stuck it on the fence, but they came running. I mean, straight in on us, and I shot one at 8 yards. We ultimately got video of it, but not great video, not the video we wanted to get. But sometimes it just works, that good. And I think, something had changed over Monday to Tuesday where that happened, because an hour later we go and kill another bird in Kansas, and then we drive 2.5 hours to Nebraska, and we're literally in Nebraska for 10 minutes and kill a bird off of it. So
that is so crazy.
It just like light switched to where, because prior to going to Kansas on the 8th, we hunted Missouri's youth with my 12-year-old, and he wants to reap a bird. That's what he seemed to do. He wants to do it this year. So that's what we tried to do, and we hunted full day Saturday and Sunday, both. Worked 12 different birds on the reaper and didn't get any of them killed. They just weren't responding to it.
Wow.
So it's just like a light switch change there, and on Tuesday, and then we hunted Wednesday with Cody, just help him call. We were going to go film and help him call one in, and we had birds coming. We would just barely hear them gobble. Over probably a quarter mile away. And we'd go to move on them, and they were back to where we were calling them from originally. Like they would just come to the call, like
wow.
Nobody's business. So giant change just from March 25th till, right now. So that has me excited for Missouri's opener, which is Monday.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you when that open.
Yeah, nothing better than when birds call. I always say I hate hunting out of blinds and calling birds because reaping's so much fun, but it's still really fun when you can get a bird to answer you and actually come in and work the way he's supposed to. So,
yeah, it's always fun. Nothing's better if you're turkey hunters. They have birds gobble, obviously, and it's kind of what you live for during that part of the season is hearing turkeys gobble. It is awesome.
Absolutely.
So you got Nebraska done, right?
Yeah.
Kansas done. Or do you have another tag in Kansas still?
No, it's a 2-tag state. Nebraska, I actually could buy a third if I wanted to, but I usually kill 2 with Sand River, so I'll probably not buy a third, just because I'll have 2 tags here in Missouri Monday.
Okay. Now it was years ago, and I don't even know if it's the same anymore, Blake. But Missouri still the law, or was it the law? You guys can only hunt till noon.
1 o'clock. Yep.
Oh, 1 o'clock. Okay, it's still like that.
1 o'clock. Yep, okay. Still like that. None of us really understand, but it's all good.
Yeah.
Don't get me on that rant.
Yeah, half a day's better than nothing. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can only hunt till 1, and we can only kill 1 bird the first week. But and you can't kill
this coming Monday. I'm sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
And you can't kill either of your birds on the same day.
Okay, so
essentially, you have
one, you're done for the day, at least.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Yep.
Yep. So it's there's a lot of rules in Missouri, but they're just trying to protect the turkey population, which is all good. But
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I'm probably not going to hunt much the first week. I'm going to hunt. Obviously, we're going to go with some buddies and film and do all that. But I'm personally probably won't hunt until probably the second or third week. I like like I said, I like the later part of the season seems to just get better here. Seems like as the hens breed and go to nest, these gobblers have less options and seem to work a little earlier in the morning and just really are a lot more responsive to the reaper or to calling, either one. So we usually kind of save at least a tag or both tags for the second or third week here in Missouri, just because I just like to hunt them like that.
Yeah. But sometimes like you said, sometimes the season turkey-wise is just better like that when they've already had some fun with some hens and they can kind of come into their own and they start to get responsive to calling again. So
yeah, absolutely.
Makes it a lot better. But Michigan doesn't start till like our first season on private land in the lower half of the state because Michigan's so broke up turkey-wise, but is April 22nd, so I still got a little ways to go yet.
But, yeah. But they should be calling good then for you guys, I'd say.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, should be really about perfect. Yeah. So hopefully it is anyways. So hopefully the weather holds up and it, kind of cool in the mornings and we should have a good turkey season. I don't believe we had too much of a winter die-off, so I think the numbers going into season will be really good. So I'm pretty excited about it. Last year, I don't think we had the greatest numbers. We had a little bit of winter die-off in 17 going into 18, but this year should be pretty good. So ready for it.
Heck yeah, that'd be great.
Well, I'm excited. Hopefully that you plug two more in Missouri, and we'll chat again about turkey time.
Yeah, hopefully. We got to get Dittmer. I think Dittmer needs to kill some turkeys probably.
Yeah. It's about time to get Dittmer on the podcast again too.
Right. Yeah. We'll have to definitely circle back around after Missouri's over because I got a couple clients coming in and all that stuff. So we'll see what we can get killed.
Absolutely. Well, good luck in Missouri, and then everybody, as you know, you can find really great content like we talked about today on the podcast on the Unfiltered Outdoor app. You can download to Apple, iOS, and Android devices. So make sure you check it out. You can find the podcast there as well. And Blake, keep reaping those turkeys.
Thanks, brother. It was good talking to you.
All right, man. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. We'll see you.